Hi everyone, today I want to do something a little bit different and share a video with you. Our little boy turns 1 this week, and so in honor of Everett's birthday, I wanted to share this story of how God made it possible for us to have another baby. A little bit of background for those of you who don't know my situation. I have a lot of trouble having babies. I have trouble getting pregnant, I have trouble staying pregnant, and have had a few miscarriages. And I have trouble just being pregnant. I've had a lot of issues with my back and hips and pelvis, and it's very painful for me to be pregnant. So after the birth of our second daughter, Kaylia, I was told we shouldn't have any more babies because my body wasn't strong enough to handle it. I was also in a lot of pain, and so I was seeing about 6 different therapists every week or two, and I was just praying all the time that God would heal me, so that I wouldn't have to live with pain every day, but also because I had this very deep longing for another baby. And I just kept hoping that something would change in my body so that we could have a 3rd child. I kept trying all these different therapies, hoping that something would help, but I also gave myself a deadline, and I told myself if I was not able to get pregnant by the time I was 35, I would give up that longing, that desire, and move on to the next chapter of my life. I did this because I was really scared of living with an unfulfilled longing my whole life and with regrets. I just wanted peace and joy and contentment, and I was so thankful for our girls and that we were able to have 2 children, and so I didn't want to live with this unfulfilled longing. The summer I turned 35, I went to each of my 6 therapists and asked, is it possible yet for me to have a baby? And all of them said, no, you should not have another baby. Your body could not handle that. It's not strong enough. So I went home and I cried a lot and prayed a lot, and I started getting rid of all the baby things we had stored in our basement in the hope that we would need to use them again someday. And it was really hard for me, but I just kept trying to do what I could to begin the next stage of my life and to leave my longing for a baby behind. That fall, in the end of November, I was alone one evening. My girls were in bed, Ben was gone for the evening, and I was looking forward to just a quiet, relaxing night. I was gonna just sit on the couch and enjoy my favorite snacks, watch my favorite show. And as I was all settled and comfy and about to start, I felt like God was saying, get down on your knees and pray. And I thought, I don't want to pray. I want to sit on the couch and eat snacks and watch TV. But this urging did not go away. And I started thinking, if God has something for me, I don't want to miss out on it. I want to live in obedience to what He's calling me to do. And so I can lay aside my plans for the evening and I can get down and pray. So I started praying, and it was amazing. It was a really great time of just connecting with God and praying, and then something changed, and it felt like something was going to happen, and I had this very strong sense of anticipation. I had no idea what I was anticipating, but it just felt like something was going to happen. And as I waited, God started giving this message to me, one word at a time, and it's kind of hard to describe what it was like, but the closest thing I can think of is if you're looking at a surface of water and you see bubbles coming up from really deep down and they just bubble up and pop on the surface. That's kind of what it felt like. I felt these words one at a time coming into my mind that would pop, and then I would know what it was. So the first word that I kind of felt coming on and popped into my mind was the word Shaddai. And I thought this was interesting because I'd never heard Shaddai by itself. I'd heard El Shaddai, but I'd never heard Shaddai. And later on I looked up the meaning of it. And Shaddai means provider. So God gave me this word Shaddai, and I'm like, what's happening? Why did He give me this word? And then a second word came and popped into my head, and it was the word will, Shaddai will. And I'm like, God, what are you saying? And then a third word came, the word heal. Shaddai will heal. At this point, I started freaking out, and I'm like, God, are you saying you're going to heal me? What are you saying? And then another word came, the word all. Shaddai will heal all. And at this point, I started bawling, and I'm like overwhelmed, trying to take in what God was saying to me. And then another word came, the word trust. And one last word popped into my mind, and it was the word all. Shaddai will heal all. Trust me. And I didn't know what to think or say or do, and I just kind of lay there on the floor just crying and praying, and I asked God, how do I trust you? This is incredible and amazing. What do I do while I wait for you to heal me? How do I trust you? And immediately the answer came into my mind. It was the words, act like a healthy person. And I thought, that makes sense. If I really trust that God is going to heal me, then I should act like it. So God, how do I act like a healthy person? And immediately the thought came into my mind, stop going to all your appointments. And I thought, well, obviously that's not from God. The rest was from God, but not that, because that's impossible. I can't stop going to all my appointments. I would be in so much pain, I wouldn't be able to function. So I'm not doing that, because that's just crazy. But God, what could I do to act like a healthy person? And nothing else really came. So I started brainstorming all these great ideas how I could act like a healthy person. I thought, well, I could eat better, and I could drink more water and get to bed earlier, and kind of made this list of all the things I knew would be really great for my body. And over the next couple of days, I just kept kind of chewing on this whole thing, trying to take in what had happened. And then that Sunday, I went to church, and a lady started telling me this story about her friend who felt as though God had told her he was going to heal her eyesight. She had a lot of problems with her vision. And God said he would heal her, but then nothing happened. And she got really frustrated, and she started praying and asking God, why didn't you do anything? You said you were going to heal me, and then nothing happened. And God said to her, you never took off your glasses. Now, when the lady shared that part of the story with me, I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach, because I knew, in that instant, I knew exactly what I was supposed to do. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. So I got out of there as quick as I could, went and found an empty room, and just started crying and praying and asking God what he was saying, why he would ask me to stop going to all my appointments. And yet I just knew that was what he wanted me to do. As I was praying, I looked up, and in that room there was a calendar. And it just came to me, God wants me to do this for 1 month. He's asking me to trust him for 1 month. No appointments. And I just thought, God, if you actually want me to stop going to all my appointments for a month, you need to talk to Ben too. Speak to him and tell him the same thing, because it's going to be just as hard for him as for me. He's going to have to help out so much. He's going to have to deal with me crying and being discouraged and going through all this pain. And it's going to affect our whole family, not just me. So please speak to Ben. So after church, I went to Ben and I told him about what had happened. And I was really nervous about what he was going to say. And he was quiet for a while. And I thought, oh no, this is a very bad idea. And then he spoke and he said, you know what? For a few years now, I've thought, if we really believed God's going to heal you, you should stop going to your appointments. But I never wanted to say that to you because I knew how hard that would be. And I was so amazed because it became clear to me that God had been preparing for this. He'd been speaking to Ben in advance and preparing both of us for what he was going to ask me to do. So for the month of December, I didn't go to any of my appointments. And I was really scared how things would go. I knew it would be really painful. And it was hard and horrible. And I didn't know what to do at first. I didn't know how to deal with it. But I kept thinking, act like a healthy person. The only thing I knew to do was to exercise, because over the years my different therapists had given me a number of exercises and stretches they wanted me to do, but it was too painful. I could never do them. And so that month I started doing them all. I exercised for about an hour and a half every day, and it was horribly painful, but I just kept pushing through it. I kept acting like a healthy person even though I felt awful. And I had a group of friends that was praying for me and sending me worship songs and encouragement, and about halfway through the month I started noticing it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It still hurt like crazy. I was in pain all the time, but it was possible. This was working. We were doing this, and I was getting by. Towards the end of the month, I started wondering, what do I do now? What does God want me to do? Does he want me to keep going? Do I go back to my appointments? And I prayed a lot, and finally I just felt like God was giving me peace to go back to some of my appointments, not all of them. And so I chose the 3 therapists that seemed to have helped me the most, and I went back to see them. And they assessed my body, and one by one, they just expressed complete amazement. They said, something has changed in your body. It's like you're a totally different person. And I said, I still have pain. And they said, yes, you probably do, but something has happened. Your body is in a completely different place. So I asked them again, is it possible for me to have a baby? And each one said, yes, your body is strong enough, you can have a baby. So I rushed home with the good news and told Ben, guess what? We can have a baby. And Ben said, we want to have a baby. And I said, we don't want to have a baby. And it turns out Ben and I had been dealing with this all very differently. He had told me he'd be sad if we could never have another baby. But when we were told it was impossible, he didn't dwell on it. Whereas I had spent the last 5 years obsessing and praying and begging God for a miracle. But Ben had just put it out of his mind and moved on. And so we talked about it a lot over the next few days. And Ben said, if God would just miraculously put a baby on our doorstep, that'd be great. But he said he couldn't go through fertility treatments again. He couldn't go through watching me deal with the disappointment, deal with miscarriages. He just didn't want to go back to that place again. And so finally, after we talked about it for a number of days, he just said, Kendra, we can't talk about this anymore. It's too stressful for me. I just can't do it. And I was so devastated. And so I started praying and I said, God, I have this desire that does not go away. I have this longing and I don't know what to do with it, but I want you to put your desires into my heart. I want to long for the things you want me to long for. Show me, what do I do with this longing for a baby that does not go away? And God spoke to me so clearly. He said 3 things. The first thing was, surrender your desire to me. The second thing was, submit to Ben's desires. And the third thing was a very clear picture of a branch of fall leaves. And I was like, what is with the fall leaves? In fall you're going to do something? In fall you're going to make it clear to me why we can't have another baby? What's with the fall leaves? But the first 2 things totally made sense, even if the third did not make sense to me. So I went home and I told Ben what had happened. And I said, I'm not going to bring this up anymore. And he said, thank you. And we didn't talk about it again. I would go to the bathroom often to cry for a bit and pray and just beg that God would help me. And then I'd go about my day, just carrying this heavy burden, until one day the verse came to mind about how Jesus' yoke is easy and his burden is light. And I thought, good grief, I need to stop this. I need to trust that God is going to do the best for me. I need to stop dragging around this burden, and I need to believe that his burden is light. And so I was able to find peace and contentment during that time. And then 2 weeks later, we found ourselves on the couch with a positive pregnancy test in our hands and just more shocked than we'd ever been before. And God had just done the most amazing, miraculous thing, and we were completely overwhelmed. It was amazing, but it was really hard for me because I had a lot of baggage from my past miscarriages, and I had to fight fear so hard the whole time. Just keep trusting God and keep believing that he was doing something new in my body, and I would not have a miscarriage, and it would not be like the other times. And it wasn't. That pregnancy was completely different. It was hard and it was painful, and I still had to exercise very regularly and be very careful about what I did, but it was possible. It was working. I was able to have a baby. After Everett was born, I went back to all my therapists, and all of them were amazed at how well I was able to come through pregnancy and delivery, and God just kept doing miracles in my body. A lot of people ask me, so are you healed? Do you not have pain anymore? And unfortunately, I still do have pain every single day, but I can tell that my body is a lot better. It's slowly getting stronger. Things are gradually changing, gradually improving, but I still do have pain. There is a part of me that wishes God would just have healed me in an instant. That would have been amazing, but that isn't how it happened. He's taking me on this journey to healing. It was really neat. A friend told me once that God doesn't just want to heal my physical body. He wants to heal my heart. He wants to heal my thoughts, my habits, everything about me, all of me he wants to heal. Not just a dramatic, quick physical healing, but he's taking me on this process to change what was happening in the past and bring me into something new in the future. And He's just doing that in His timing, not in my timing. I read something I really liked the other day. It was about how God doesn't worry about timing when He's creating something. The story of creation happens over a span of 7 days. A baby takes 9 months to be formed in the mother's womb. And so God doesn't rush these things. He has His perfect timing. And He's more interested in the process of creating new life than He is in doing these things quickly. And so there are times when I feel very impatient and frustrated that stuff isn't happening faster. But I just keep hanging on to that message God gave me, that He's going to heal all. He is my provider. And Everett is my daily reminder of what is all possible, that God is able to do such amazing miracles. And so I just hope that this can be an encouragement to you, that God is always listening. He always cares about your prayers. He may not answer them in the way that you think He will or think He should. He may not do it as quickly as what you want, but He is doing something. He hears and He cares, and He just has the best in store for each of us. And I just am so thankful for the daily reminder Everett is to me. He brings so much joy and laughter into our home, and he is just such a miracle to us, and we are so thankful what God has done for our family. And so it is my hope and prayer that you can hang in there and just trust that God is taking you on a journey to something new, something in His perfect timing He's going to bless you with. So I just want to thank you for listening.